Like, Mum, all my friends are members, please.
You know, I want to play sailing. I want to have fun playing sailing.
I'm very glad that every skill up until now failed.
They were like, oh, my kid's going off to uni. I have to send her some,
Some
moose meat.
Hello everyone and welcome to the official Old School RuneScape podcast, where we get to chat shit with JMods and creators alike. I'm Mod Elena.
And I'm Mod Sween, and this is our chance to get to know the person behind the crown, hear their stories, and hear their experiences. Today we're joined by a very special guest from the Old School RuneScape team.
I am Mod Elena.
Hey Elena, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good.
We wanted to get you on a podcast pilot, so we did all the way last year, and I think you turned up on the day and we're like, we're so sorry we're running late. You have to wait a while.
Yeah, I think it's been about a year,
About a year and a half.
Wow.
Been a long time. Didn't realize that.
Wait, has it actually been that long?
Been that long.
Oh my god.
So I think we were planning on talking about what it's like going to be working on sailing, because I think a few months prior, the poll concluded at the summit, and then we were like, all right, let's learn about what the project's going to entail. Now we're at the other end, in which sailing's almost out of the door. So
Nothing's changed, you're still working on it.
still working on it. We'll get into sailing naturally, because it's such a massive project. Let's start right at the beginning, you and kind of RuneScape history.
Well, I started playing when I was, I think, about 13. So, like, back in the day, true old school player, so to speak.
You were a legal player as well. You didn't lie about your age.
Unless I lied right now.
Okay,
yeah.
I see.
We'll say 13-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you find it? Do you remember?
Like how I discovered it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think some boys at school were talking about it. They were talking about RuneScape specifically.
Okay.
And I was like, that sounds really cool. And my dad's a gamer. Like, he didn't play RuneScape or RuneScape, but he played other MMOs like EverQuest and stuff like that. And so I'd always sort of been into gaming because of him, and like we'd play together a bit and stuff. And so I was quite keen to try something else. I had a laptop at the time, but I didn't have administrator privileges on my laptop because my mom was like, oh no, you can't have the teenager running loose on the internet and installing stuff. Yeah. But the good thing is, RuneScape ran in the browser at the time, so I didn't have to install it, which was perfect. So I could play as much as I wanted, and so I did. And eventually, she had to like turn off the internet at 11, so that I didn't play all night.
That's quite generous though. 11 p.m. I wish I was allowed to play that late.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Eventually, we had to have the conversation about like, you know, I turned like, I don't know, like 17, 18, and I was like, Mom, I kind of need to be on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, I have homework and stuff. Can we extend that a bit? And
I have
she
homework.
just turned it off. Yeah, I did. On RuneScape. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played largely free to play at the time, actually. A funny story, my cousin and I, we played together. He's 4 years younger than me. And I got him hooked on RuneScape as well. And then when we were kids, like, we really wanted to go to Ardoin. And we were both free to play, right? And we couldn't get through the Taverley gates. Like, we were really, really wanting to see what else was out there. And so we borrowed my aunt's phone. She didn't know about it at the time. But back then, you could call in and get, like, a membership code. So we did that. But the only problem was we were kids. And our first language isn't English. So we didn't know what 0 was. We knew all the other numbers. We didn't know what 0 was. So we kept calling until we got a number without 0. So we probably bought like 8 memberships and used 2 of them. But yeah, my aunt wasn't very happy. Sorry.
That's actually brilliant. Oh my god. I forgot about paying for membership via the phone. I had the exact same scenario minus the 0. But I think I had about 6 months of membership before my parents looked at the phone bill and saw this payment that kept going out, and they thought that the phone had been hacked, and then were calling up the phone provider, at which point I had to come clean and tell them that it was me. And thankfully, my mom was okay about it. She was like, all right, that's fine. Just let us know next time. So I was pretty fortunate.
Once I was like, no, I did it properly. I prepared the whole spiel. I was like, Mum, all my friends are members. Please. Do you want me up out on the, like, causing no good out on the streets? Or do you want me playing RuneScape every single day? It's only £3.20, please.
Proper sales pitch.
It took me ages to get to Ardy though.
Yeah.
I crossed the mountain and I was like, home, Caverby, Searstown. This is it. This is all I want to do.
Honestly,
these little villages.
Yeah.
This is a bit of me.
That's the same. I don't even remember past that, to be honest, because so much time was spent just at Catherby and Sears Village, especially Sears, chopping maples. I just chop maples all day, every day, until I could afford a glory. And then my memory is blank from buying a Glory to being at Falador merching whips. And that's how I made money then.
Okay.
There's something happened in between that
Yeah,
time.
something must have happened. Probably.
Bowstrings.
Yeah, maybe.
You kind of went gradually a bit more southerly. Like,
Yeah.
okay, maples, and then we go to Youtooz, and then bowstrings, and then whatever else in between, magics. I love talking RuneScape memories. It's
Yeah,
like the equivalent of like just being in the pub and talking about 90s footballers. Like, oh, do you remember Pires? Do you remember bowstrings?
Well, it's funny because like no one knew how to play in a way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Today you can't really, because you know so much about like how you're meant to be playing the game. A lot of the time you feel like you can't just mess around and like sell bowstrings, right? Like you're not going around picking flax because you know like there are so many more efficient ways to do things.
Yeah.
But back then we didn't know how to play efficiently, and so you were just hanging out.
What was the main thing you used to do back when you were hanging out in RuneScape with your cousin?
So mainly I was free to play. That's most what I remember. So I would chop yew trees in Edgeville.
Okay.
That was like most of my day. And I got to 99 woodcutting, and then one person in my clan felt so bad for me that I wasn't a member that he gave me membership so I could go buy my cape.
Oh, wow.
So that was
That's
really nice
sweet.
of him.
And then you got to, did that eventually expire, or was it at that point then you decided to, fraudulently use your aunt's phone?
I think we'd used the phone before that, but I
Okay.
wasn't 99 yet. So I'd had like a taste of membership and then lost it again because my
that's
aunt
rough.
found out.
Yeah.
And then by the time that I got 99, he paid for it.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was.
So then we transport time forward. You're no longer a teen. You're now in like what I assume is old school's release. When did you first come back to actual old school?
I think it was around the time that it launched in
Okay.
2013. One of my friends in college, because I was in college at the time, he was talking about how there was a big poll going on and they're going to bring it back and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, right, okay, let's do it then. And I realized that back in the day, I hadn't really like gotten into like combat and stuff. Like I'd done a bit of like grinding hellhounds or something, but I'd never done any bossing or anything like that. So the highlight of me like returning to RuneScape, and I was probably like some time into it. I don't quite remember when, but it was early days, and we went to Barrows, and I was like, "This is peak. Like this is RuneScape." You know, that was really cool. And I remember getting a Guthin spear when it was like 8 or 9 mil.
That was like the token drop. I remember everyone wanted
Yeah.
Guthans because it was like, well, yeah, you'd just be able to the thought of being able to do all of your tasks or combat and never have to leave and never have to get food. Like it was an incredible feeling then. Nowadays, no one cares about it because like, it's so fast to just get food, eat the food, bank, get back to where you were that you don't even have to worry about that stuff anymore.
Or even Nightmare Zone and release and just 6 hours logging. Like,
Yeah.
You just, regardless, you could do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. See, I had a friend who I think he basically was making PK accounts, different builds, and he would 6 hour log Guthans. And even to the point where because I think back then you used to have there was a really specific quest completion like number that you could do and specific quests for the best NPCs that came in there. He made an alt account to host Nightmare Zone games for his accounts to then 6 hour log. And he was like, dude, you should do it. You should do it. It's so easy to set up. But like the thought of having to have this specific quest list done was enough of a blocker for me to never do it. So I never 6 hour logged in Nightmare Zone for the entirety of it being available in game before it was changed. I look back now and think how stupid I was. Because I really should have.
The quest list was so easy.
Yeah,
to do
I
as
know.
well.
I know. Literally, I look back into it and I was just like, yeah, why didn't I do this? It would have taken me half an hour to set up.
Not necessarily though, because that was before Quest Helper and stuff. So you had to rely on the wiki or like YouTube.
Yeah, but there were still early easy quests though, right?
yeah, that's
Still
fair.
a Slay music.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's just me being lazy.
So you came back for the poll, you got your spear, and then you played consistently through to like joining Jagex, or with any breaks and stuff in between.
Yeah, a couple of breaks, but like nothing major.
Yeah.
I always came back. I vividly remember watching like Boaty and Dalek Cookie around the time as well. They were like big inspirations for me. And then when Zolra came out, I remember like I wanted to do Zolra for the Western Elite Diary, I think, or is it Hard Diary? Forget now which one it is, but one of them. You need to get 1 kill. And I was adamant on not cheesing it. I wanted to learn the boss. And it was really painful. I kept dying a lot. But I think back to that moment now, and I think like that's when I really like it clicked for me how like PVM really works.
Yeah.
I'd done Barrows. It was fun, but I didn't really like get I don't know,
Mechanics.
like I didn't get it, you know. But something clicked when I started learning Zolra. And ever since then, I've been really hooked on PVM. When I was in uni, I started like going for harder and harder stuff. So like doing all the bosses, doing like solo trips in different places. When Chambers came out, I started learning how to solo that. I eventually got my Infernal Cape. And then eventually I got a job here. And since then, I haven't really played that much. Like it's been on and off for a bit. But yeah, I think at least the last year, I haven't really played much.
So a common thing we've heard from JMods is that you say you're not playing much, but actually because you're making content and then you're going in and you're seeing if it works and then going out and then tweaking it and then going back in and seeing if it works, you're actually probably playing more than ever.
So I am spending a lot of my day looking at the game, but I'm not so much playing it as like testing very specific things,
Sure.
right? It's very rare that we actually play it as a player would.
Yeah.
It happens like maybe like an hour a week. But I think there is a correlation between like how much you work on the game versus like how much you want to play it when you're done at work and you go home. Especially with like working on sailing, it's been quite a tough project in terms of like there's a lot of pressure on the project to do well, both from the players and from the company as well. And of course, like we're players ourselves. Like we want to do a good job because we know that, you know, I want to play sailing. I want to have fun playing sailing. So that makes me motivated to do a good job of making it. But in turn, if I've spent all my energy on like focusing on making this really great at work that day, then I go home. I don't really want to look at the game. Some days I do it. Some days I don't. So it varies.
In terms of working on sailing, you said it's been a particularly tough project. I know it's been going on for quite some time now. What would you say out of all of that time, and there's two parts to this, your most enjoyable part of working on sailing, and then the flip side of that, what has been the least enjoyable part?
I think the most enjoyable was seeing players try it for the first time at RuneFest. That was a highlight for me because until then, we'd only shown brief moments of sailing. We'd shown like clips here and there. We talked about it a bit in blogs, but we were in a state of development where we were like, we want to show more, but everything's so rough around the edges that we don't really think that it's going to like give a good perception of what sailing actually is going to look like. So we'd rather hold off until it looks a bit better so that like players can get a more realistic view of what it's going to be. And at the time of RuneFest, we were like, you know what, it's pretty good. And we want to validate like how the boats move and stuff like that. We want to make sure that people feel involved in that process. And we still want feedback, right? Like it's not like we're being quiet because we don't want to hear from anyone. We still want player input. So we were like, okay, let's let them try it at RuneFest. But the cool part is we didn't tell anyone. We didn't tell the players that we were going to do this. So in the opening of RuneFest, there was a bit at the end where we were like, oh yeah, and by the way, you can try sailing here today. And that was really cool. We saw a bunch of people just like run to the computers after.
That place got swarmed instantly,
Yes,
I remember. And you dressed up as a pirate as well, which is very cool.
Yeah, I did. I kind of regret doing the hat though, because you can't really see my face.
Oh, it was a big hat.
Yeah, it was a big hat. I really enjoyed RuneFest. And I've never done a RuneFest as a JMod before. So I did one in 2019 before I joined the company as a player. And it was really weird going back and like being recognized. It was strange, but fun.
RuneFest is always an absolute blast. And I swear, like you go into it and you just never know what to expect. But also at the same time, you kind of like have an understanding of what's going to happen. But I think the part where you don't expect is just the sheer kind of like volume of interactions that you have there, the amount of people that, you know, will recognize you and want to come up and chat to you and all that. And I want to ask you more about RuneFest, but I'm going to hold on to it because I want to hear the bad, and then we'll bring it back and maybe bring some joy into it from RuneFest again.
I have a funny story as well. Remind me when we go back to that topic.
Okay.
It's about going undercover.
Oh, okay.
So
Undercover.
we'll get back to that one.
All right.
In terms of
Elena.
In terms of the bad stuff on sailing, I wouldn't say it's like necessarily bad, but we've definitely had some parts in development where we're like, yeah, we shouldn't have done it that way, or like we should have chosen a different strategy, right? And that's meant that like either we're a bit delayed or like that it's just been like a tough conversation to have sometimes in terms of like, okay, how do we solve this problem, right? So I think one thing that we did quite early was we wanted to like way in the beginning, like when we started the project or we started developing it. So sailing's past the pole. We know we're doing sailing. Now we actually need to make the thing. I remember we tried to scale up a bit too fast. So before that, we'd had myself and Husky and Mod Curse and Mod Gecko and Mod Light. Like that was the team doing the sort of refinement of the skill. But at that point, we were like, okay, well, now we need to make the thing. So we need more people to help us make the thing. So we got an engineer on, and we got a few more designers and QA as well. The problem that we had was that we hadn't prototyped enough yet. So we were trying to figure out, like, okay, how do boats work? How should they work? What feels old school in terms of, like, we're creating a whole new move set here, like a way of moving a big entity. And that needs to feel different to moving a player. But how do you make something new, but still make it feel old school? So that was a really big challenge for us. And at the same time, we were trying to create islands because we knew that, like, regardless of how you move the boat, we know that you're going to move the boat.
Yeah.
So you can make the content where you're going to move to. So we tried to do that at the same time. And it was just too much to handle at once. And we weren't able to really, do both effectively at the same time. So I would say that was a bit of a mistake just in terms of, like, development process, I suppose. And going back, like, if we were to do it again, I would prototype with a smaller team first and really nail, like, the tech side of things. And once we're confident, then I would scale up a bit more.
I mean, that doesn't sound like too bad, to be honest. It's actually quite a positive in the sense that, yeah, you figured something out wasn't working, you've learned from it, and you'll be able to use that now moving forward, which is really awesome. I do remember at the time, actually, even I felt quite overwhelmed as like a sidearm supporting the Project Free community with Light, where there was just so much going on all at once, and everyone seemed to have their own kind of like directions that they were going in, understandably, because you're told to design some really awesome content, but then having that with the whole complication of how the boats would work, and if the boats would work the way we wanted to, would it interact the way that it needed to, and all that. So I'm happy that actually things turned out the way that they did.
It was such a big pressure on getting that to work as well, because we couldn't really do anything else like boat related. Like I said, we could do the islands because we knew that we were going to go there, but we couldn't do, like, how do you get XP on the boat, because we didn't even know how the boat would move yet and what the player would be required to do. So there were a lot of layers that we couldn't really get to yet until we had the foundations in place.
I guess that explains quite a lot in terms of, and I'll just say, I know that there are other reasons as well that are mostly from me at times, which we can probably talk about later on too. But there was a big period of almost silence, right, in terms of updates for sailing, where the skill had passed the poll and you started working on it, but then there was nothing to be shared. And I know, like, one of those reasons is sharing prototypes is risky, and we want to have stuff that's polished and ready. We saw that even with releasing footage, in early alpha stages and in the marketing materials or videos to talk about what we're doing, and everyone's like, "Oh, the boats look like shit." Like, yeah, they're meant to. It's not finished, but like that's what everyone always just like hammers down to. If this is what the skill's going to look like, then I don't want it. I'm like, It's not what the skill's going to look like. Please work with us. Like, we want to work with you. But obviously, a lot of that time is I now understand, or hopefully, listeners will understand that it's actually because you were going through all this process of figuring out those prototypes, figuring out boat movement, making sure that boats work the way they needed to, because that's the core fundamental of the skill, right?
And in terms of like visuals as well, you might say that the visuals don't matter for how the boats move, but we didn't really want to commit to how the boats look until we had a better understanding of that, because and initially, like, some of the first boat assets we made, like art-wise, was we called it the bathtub eventually because it had really high edges. And it looked more like that traditional sort of like a big sailboat, basically, but kind of like shrunk together a little bit. And it ended up being really annoying to sail because it was too big. It was too tall as well. The very first one had a staircase. If you wanted to go between like the wheel where you're steering and the sails to trim the sails, you had to click a staircase and then go down to do it. And that was just annoying, right? And so we learned a lot about the layouts of the boat by just prototyping. But if we'd finished those assets and made them look really pretty and then decided, actually, we don't want it to work this way, then all of that time making those pretty assets would have gone to waste.
It's interesting about showing visuals early on, because we've done it with other content. I remember the first time we showed the Sepulchre on stream, grey boxed entirely, projectiles, like the swords and stuff, were bot characters just walking towards, and players loved it. Because I think the Sepulchre didn't carry like the weight of expectation and even like the impact it's going to have on a game. Whereas Sailing, divisive anyway, just like because of the polling process, and some players don't want the skill. It means that players want to see like brilliance from day one.
Yeah.
Which is tough to manage for a game that's like, okay, we poll everything.
And I get the skepticism, right? Because like it's a game that people have put hours and hours of time into, and people naturally get a bit protective of that. Like I'm protective of the game. I don't want it to go in a direction I don't want. So I don't blame players for caring too much about it, right? Like it's totally natural.
Oh, right on. I mean, there's loads of valid reasons why some people might not want Sailing. They might not like the way we polled it. They might have didn't like the way we polled it versus shamanism. They might not have liked, they might not believe that Sailing is the right skill, or maybe even that like we could deliver it to a high quality, even though they might want it. They might not want a new skill full stop. Like Old School's been out for 12 years. Why do we need a new skill? 12 years has been fine. So I get loads of valid reasons. We polled it. We've done like the kind of due process. Now we need to make sure we deliver something good.
The thing is, as well, as like, I think that there's a bit of a misconception within the community at times, in that we just dismiss negative feedback and ignore it. And maybe like that's a signal that we need to do better at addressing the negativity and acknowledging it more so. But I mean, you can attest, hopefully, for the countless conversations we've had around, the negativity that we've seen, the skepticism that we've seen, and how we can best, work towards bringing those people on board and taking into account their views and making sure that the skill is developed in a way with them in mind, as well as the people that are really looking forward to it. Because we know that there are so many people that are looking forward to Sailing now. I mean, look at the poll results of late. Everything's passing with flying colours. There's a huge amount of positivity, which is awesome to see, but it wasn't always like that.
So I guess we haven't talked too much about it, but we have this group of players who are under NDA. Some of them have been there from like way back when the skill first passed. Even before that, when we were just talking about making a new skill, we would like send them our pitches for different types of skills and just be like, hey, does this sound feasible? Like, would you guys want this kind of thing? And when Sailing passed the poll, we actually brought in more people, and we intentionally invited people who voted no to Sailing to get their perspectives as well. Because even though they voted no, they still have a vested interest in making it the best it can be. Because at that point, the skill is coming to the game. So at that point, they just want to make it the best it can be, despite them not initially wanting it.
And how have you found that worked?
Pretty well, actually. It's been healthy, I think, to be a bit challenged by those kind of like, I wouldn't say it's negative, right? Because it's just an opinion. Like, I didn't want Sailing for one reason or another. But I think ultimately that's made it into a better skill. Because if you listen to that criticism, it might be that like, I don't like Sailing because I think it's not integrated enough, because you're just going on the sea, so you're not like interacting with the existing game world. So we're like, okay, let's double down on the islands. Let's like tie more skills into it, right? Like we're definitely trying to address that feedback.
I mean, I see that. I know you've worked really hard on it, which has been awesome to see. I think it's got to a point now where like I would probably say that the only really negative or criticizing opinions are those that people just don't have anything constructive left to say, why they don't want the skill. It's just a case of they don't want a new skill, period. And in those instances, unfortunately, there's not a huge amount that we can do. But before then, countless hours spent trying to make sure that everyone's opinion was taken into account and that feedback was brought on board. I'm glad you brought up the NDA group as well, because they have been fantastic.
They've been so
really,
good.
really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. We've done a few like play tests with them as well, where like they've gotten to try Sailing at various stages, and it's been so valuable, like just hearing their different perspectives, because it's not just like there's some yes and no voters. There's also people of like different skill levels, right? So like you have some like really, really talented players in there, and then you have players who like haven't put that much time into it, or some people who are just mainly into skilling versus some people who are more into like PBM stuff, and just making sure that we have a good variety of players in there to give a good varied amount of feedback.
So, I mean, it sounds reasonable. I know there'll be people listening to this being like, oh, great. So they're just making Sailing for fucking Reddit Andy. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I mean, I don't want to name any names, but like, I know who's in that group, and we have people who are front pages, right? 200 mil alls, max players, mid-level players, casual players, because that's a representative of everyone, right? We have so many different types of people, styles of players, and trying to bring them all together was an interesting challenge in its own right, but I'm glad that it worked out well and that, you know, they've stuck with it and helped us out. How would a player ever get involved in a playtest?
So from what I remember, we put out some surveys about like, would you be interested basically in giving more feedback and like being part of this group? I suppose like keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm sure that with this being successful, with us like working with the NDA group for sailing, I can imagine we'll probably want to do something similar for future projects as well. Maybe at a smaller scale, but I think that stuff would always be useful.
As a developer, then, to like add on to that a little bit, how much value do you put into kind of like the big posts that we see on social? Normally on Reddit, you know, like someone has put together a design for a piece of content, whether it be sailing or any other updates. Do you ever think that would help someone's chances of being involved in a playtest, or outside of playtest, just how valuable do you find those kind of like larger posts?
Yeah, that can absolutely help as well. So like, without spoiling or like revealing names again, like we have a few people in that group as well by invite, specifically because of their history with that kind of stuff. So yeah, that stuff is definitely useful as well. If we see that like you have a keen eye for details, or like that you care deeply about the topic that we're presenting, right? We're going to want you in there, most likely.
A last question before I let Sween take the reins for a little bit more. You ever worked with a player that you really regret working with? You just think, you know what, those ideas were terrible. What have we done?
With you?
Do you know what? Yes, but it's most likely been creators. More often than not, you'll find that they have an agenda that suits the type of content that they want to make, which is completely understandable. And in the early days of working at Jagex, I really struggled to see past that. And I would always think of it as that, no, they know what's right. They're doing this for their job. And there was probably a few times where I favored that feedback a little bit too hard in terms of pushing it forward. I look back now and I'm like, I'm glad that I can be way more level-headed and look at it more objectively than I used to. So yeah, but individual player, no, not the one that jumps to mind, but there are a few creator names that I could throw out there.
Nice. Well, hopefully that bought you some time for your answer.
Yeah, thank you for that. I wouldn't say there's like one specific player, to be honest. Most of the players have been really good to work with, and you're not going to like this answer, but as a developer, I can rely on CM to kind of deal with the conversations with the players if I don't want to interact with them.
Why wouldn't I like that? That's lovely. That keeps me in a job. Thank you, Elena.
That's true. So Modlight's been amazing with that kind of stuff. Like,
good.
She's been managing that group a lot, the NDA group. And so like, it's good for us to be involved, because then like myself or Husky or anyone on the sailing team can just jump in and ask very specific questions. But in terms of like generally managing that group, like answering FAQs and stuff like that, we rely on Modlight a lot.
I've got a memory. I don't know if it's fake or not, so I'd like some clarity.
Here we go.
No. It's nothing outlandish.
Sween's fever dream.
Sailing wasn't in the original lineup of polls, right? Of skills to poll against. I remember it was shamanism, it was taming, and then there was this massive nebulous beast called exploration, which was like sailing plus every other way you can get around and do anything you want. And then we were like, we can't do that. That's mental. We cut that. And then eventually, I think we added sailing. Internally,
that is true.
Yeah.
But that was never player facing.
No, I know. Yeah.
So the three that we pitched to the community was sailing, shamanism, and taming. But yes, we did have like huge rounds of trying to assess like which different skills to offer. We've done some surveying as well to just ask players like, what kind of skill would you be interested in? Like, do you want it to be a production skill or a gathering skill or utility skill? And what we saw this pattern, right, where they would usually pick the most like vague, open answer. So like in that case, it was utility, because utility could be anything. And then we asked like, do you want it to be a moneymaker? Do you want it to be like, I don't know, like really grindy, like that kind of stuff? And answers would be all over the place, right? Like a bit of everything. We're like, okay, great. That narrows it down, right?
It's like Homer Simpson designing a car. I don't remember that episode.
Is that the car that eventually made it into Simpsons Hit and Run? Was that his dream car? I think it is.
Probably,
right?
probably did.
Yeah, with the dome window. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
purple
yeah.
and green. It's got all the everything
Yeah.
in it. Yeah, I do remember.
I never connected those dots. Yeah, that
He
makes
made
sense.
it for his brother's company, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he bankrupted him. Anyway.
He did.
Anyway, sailing.
Oh, there's so many
Yes.
memories coming back now. Sorry. So back to sailing.
Yeah, or like not
Exploration.
sailing, to be
Well, not
honest.
sailing.
Exploration and all the other skills we explored as well. So we had, I guess, a bit of a funny story around shamanism, actually, because that was quite a popular one with the community.
I
And
vote
where
for
it
it.
Shamanism
started,
on my chest.
Yeah, we
baby.
both voted for it.
where it started was we wanted to do a different type of magic. So we have magic in the game, and we have prayer, which isn't really magic, but it's kind of magical in a way, like the effects that you get. But we know that there are like types of magic that the player can do. So like, there's the nature spirit, for example, in Mauritania. He does some crazy like nature magic, and we're like, could we do something like that? And we were like, well, if we're doing more of a nature type magic, it's probably like druidism or something, right? And we were like, well, we have the druids in Taverley, and they're more related to herb lore. And also, our players like edgy stuff. So what's an edgy version of druidism? Shamanism. So
Okay.
that's how that came about.
I remember being in that call, actually.
Yep. But we explored tons of different stuff. So like, when we looked at taming, we looked at other stuff like, could we do some sort of like shape shifting? Could that be interesting? Because players love being like a monkey with a grease, right? That's always fun when you turn it into something else. Like, could that be an interesting skill? Lots of exploration into different stuff. We knew that exploration was a popular player suggestion, but we really struggled to narrow it down into like a core loop that felt like you could reasonably repeat it.
Yeah.
Because in exploration, like you only explore something once. Once it's explored, how do you do that again? And so that was really difficult to make into a skill without, turning it into some sort of like procedural generated stuff, which we could do. But we were a bit scared of doing that because of the tech, like the tech implications of it. I say that, and then we went with sailing.
And then you decided to do sailing with like boats
Which-
that are in separate instances and whatnot else, technical nonsense.
But I think as well that link would be people would then compare it to dungeoneering. And in those surveys we put to players, I know and I do remember we asked about other older skills, and dungeoneering, whilst always had like a nice little niche cult following, no one was really like, yeah, totally, that's the one.
Yeah,
bring
it
back.
was never seen in that way.
We did look at the RuneScape skills as well, because we were like, well, dungeoneering is well liked, but it doesn't feel that much of a skill, at least to me. I think maybe if we split up the levels that you can delve into and put them around the world, it would feel a bit more natural. But we looked at like archaeology, which did really well in RuneScape. But ultimately, we figured that I think for old school's first new skill, it deserves something unique. I don't want to necessarily take what RuneScape did and just old schoolify it like we do with some content. And I'm not saying we can't do that in the future. I think archaeology would fit really well. But I think for the first one, it deserves its own thing.
In that topic, because you brought up I actually completely forgot about exploration until you mentioned it there. And then I know we had the discussions around it. And some people were probably maybe listening and wondering why sailing even made it to the board then in that instance. But if I remember correctly, when we were initially surveying in terms of skills, the number one suggestion that came back on multiple surveys was sailing in terms of a skill that we should pitch. And I'm pretty sure that in one of the meetings that we had, it was a case of we simply cannot go out there and not offer sailing with how much demand that there has been for it. We just need to figure out how it would work. But we'll worry about that when it comes to the pitches because we have some really solid skills to go forward with. And that's kind of like how sailing made it into it, is because there was an overwhelming level of support for sailing, even if at the time it was seen as a meme.
That's why I always find it interesting when people feel like, well, obviously they put sailing in and they made it happen because they wanted to do it this entire time. When we were really close, they're not including it on the refinement pile or whatever our terminology for it was.
Yeah, I imagine that it probably would never have even made it in had people not constantly said in their results about wanting us to pitch it.
Yeah, it was quite popular even before we said anything. And I think like part of it is because it was pitched before, which is quite interesting because why did it pass now and not back in I think 2014 it was pitched? And I think the game, the community, and even the team just wasn't ready. Like we
Yeah.
couldn't really have done the sailing that we're doing now back then. The team was too small. We
Mhm.
didn't have the tech support for it, but now we do.
Yeah.
The fact that it even passed the poll is a testament to the trust that the community has in us now
Mm.
in building something that is worthy of being the first skill.
I think I'm very glad that every skill up until now failed. We weren't ready. The community weren't ready.
Yeah.
I quit RuneScape with VOC. It wasn't my cup of tea thereafter. And then I came back with old school. And then like, whilst even I joined Jagged in 2015, didn't join the old school team until 2017, I was still voting in polls like, I'm going to vote in a way that I think the team can continue to build the game in a way that it feels old school. And that means I'd vote no to some stuff.
I just
me
vote
too.
selfishly based on what I do and don't want coming into the game. Like, I take away all professional bias and just look at it from a player's point of view.
Was the intention the entire time, but like, I've played RuneScape forever. I want to go and work on RuneScape. Or did it just happen?
I didn't even know that I wanted to work in games.
Okay.
So I've never known what I want to do when I grow up. I still don't in a way,
Yeah.
but somehow I manage.
I want to pay my bills and stay alive
And play RuneScape.
and play RuneScape.
But no, I always sort of like career or like school wise at the time chose whatever would put me in a position where when I know what I want, I've made the choices so that I can get it. I got a degree within like computer science, basically, because I knew that I'm probably going to work with computers. I'm pretty good at that. So that leaves my options open. I could go into like web development, I could do games, I could do whatever. And it just so happened that around the time when I was finishing my degree, there was a job listing. So I applied and I didn't actually get the job the first time.
Okay.
I completely butchered the technical because I was too scared. My nerves were sky high. I remember it really well. I was actually flown over from Norway, where I lived at the time, to do the technical or to do the interview. And I just butchered it. It was so bad. I beat myself up over it. But I decided to try again because I knew that I could do better. And the second time I applied, that was like, I want to say a few months later, like probably half a year later. At that time, COVID was rising. So everyone here had started working from home. And I couldn't get flown over because I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So we did the interview online, still did the tech assessment, and like as far as I'm concerned, nailed it. I wasn't that nervous anymore. Maybe it was because it was online, or maybe it was just because like I knew what to expect that time. But yeah, it went a lot better. Got the job and got offered to, move over basically. That was a requirement that I had to live in the UK because of tax reasons. And so I was like, even though we were going to work from home, I had to move over. So during COVID, there were no vaccines yet or anything. I had to move to the UK, quarantine for 2 weeks upon arrival. So I couldn't like go buy the stuff I needed for my new house. I couldn't even like view the house before I went. Luckily, I knew Husky at the time, so he was able to view a place for me. Had to order everything off of Amazon and Tesco delivery and stuff. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I wouldn't recommend moving during like a global pandemic, especially across countries. But no regrets. I'm happy I did it.
So that was junior content dev role, was it?
Yes.
And now
yeah.
you were content dev, and now you're senior content dev. Is that right?
Yes. Well, we've in that time changed over to game designer titles, but I'm doing the same thing, yeah, but at a senior level. So now I actually manage people as well, which is a new challenge for me. But yeah, it's interesting. I still do a lot of the same like work, I suppose, but I sort of have like 3 main responsibilities. One being like development, and then management, and then also like project management, essentially, which on sailing is quite time consuming because I have to make sure that like we work well with other departments as well. So like looping in audio with things and working well with art and like trying to figure out things across departments.
Which of those kind of 3 pillars you mentioned are like, so it's obviously sailing is the main focus right now.
Yep.
I know you said you don't know what you want to do when you grow up, but are you thinking what's next? Like, are you looking at maybe like Kieran, who's moved into like design director role, coming up from QA and then into dev and designer and stuff, people management? What do you reckon you're going to try and go into? What do you enjoy the most?
So what I enjoy the most is probably just working directly on the game. So the design and implementation part of it. But I do get a lot of fulfillment, I guess, from like coaching people and seeing like them getting better at their work as well. So I'll probably go into more of a management route. I think where Kieran's at the moment is like almost a bit too detached from the game. Like he doesn't get to program anymore. He doesn't do like the groundwork design stuff that I still do. So I think maybe if I could go like into a lead position without quite going further, basically, would probably be ideal for me. For now, maybe I change my mind in the future.
And just to clarify for players, Kieran is not too detached from the game, but that role is too detached for your preference of wanting to work closer to the game.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
You still want to write code, and Kieran
Yeah.
doesn't
Yes,
get much
yeah.
at all chances to write code.
And if anything,
Essentially.
he's probably more in touch with the entirety of the game than I am,
Mm-hmm.
because I work on project specific stuff. So like I'm in Sailing World. I don't keep up with like everything else going on.
Yeah.
But Kieran oversees all of it, right? So like with that, he doesn't program on the individual projects, but he makes sure that like all of the projects are coming out on time and like helping people make decisions and stuff like that.
I'd like to go back to RuneFest. I heard there was a funny story. I was promised a funny story.
Yes. Okay. RuneFest. I got there Friday for rehearsals, right? That basically took all day, getting settled into the hotel and stuff. Saturday, up early, just running around all day, doing my stage stuff, looking at how players are like dealing with sailing in the LAN area. Even did some press interviews on the day, so like I was quite drained. Like I'm not used to that much like social interaction in one weekend, so that was wild for me. And then in between all of that, like players coming up to me and chatting and stuff, which was great. Like I loved that, but it was also very draining because I'm not used to it. And the same happened on the Sunday, and I was getting really cold. Like it was freezing at the venue, which makes sense because you're running around all day, so you're quite stressed and like probably a bit tired. And there's like thousands of people in there, so they have to keep the aircon going, right? So I had my hoodie on, so I was a bit more hidden, so to speak. So people, unless they knew my face, wouldn't know that I was a JMod because they couldn't see like the
You
JMod
covered up the t-shirt. I
t-shirt.
see.
Exactly.
Were you not wearing the RuneFest hoodie?
I was, but I think players just took that as like
Okay,
a generic
it's just a generic RuneFest hoodie. Okay, yeah. Because like no one was wearing them, were they? It was all the t-shirt.
Yeah. So I was a bit more hidden. People still recognize me, but not as often. And I had some spare time between things, so I went to get some food, and I wanted to just sit down because I was exhausted. I couldn't find a place to sit, and there was this table with like one girl sitting there. So I was like, "Hey, can I sit here? Is that okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And I could see that she didn't know who I was.
Okay.
I was like, "This is great. I get to have my lunch in peace. Like, it's awesome. I can have a break." And then we just started chatting about the game, and she told me like she plays RuneScape and stuff. So like RS3, not old school, which is like probably why she didn't know who I was. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I play old school," which isn't a lie.
Yeah.
But I also kind of avoided telling her that I work on the game. So I feel a bit bad about like, you know, having that lunch with her and like kind of hiding that. But at the same time, like I was just really appreciative of it being like a normal conversation and not like stressful for me.
Yeah.
I just got to have my lunch and chill out. It was good.
That's actually really
Those little
sweet.
moments of respite are so nice at RuneFest, though.
Which feels really bad to say because it's like, I don't think anyone comes out of RuneFest and says, "Oh my God, it's it's awful that so many people want to come and talk to us." It's more that the thing that I find the worst is that I don't have enough energy to give everyone the kind of like attention that I feel that they deserve. Like I want to make people feel appreciated just as much as they make like me feel appreciated when they come and speak to me. There just become a point where you are so tired, so exhausted that you just want to be able to escape from it all for a few moments to just like get yourself back together. I didn't have the same situation as you, but there was like there was a panel talk going on the main stage, and I'd grabbed some like chicken tendies, I think it was, and chips, and I just went and sat in the furthest section of seats possible on the corner on my own. And I think people had realized at that point, you know, they walked past like, "Oh, it's Mod Elena." I'm like, "I'll leave you to have your lunch, enjoy it." And I was just like, "Thank you so much." Yeah.
No, you're bang on. Like I want to have that energy to talk to everyone, but sometimes that means that like you need to take a little bit of time, recharge, and then come back stronger.
For sure.
We had like a marketing, social, CS. I think all of us too many teams in one teeny weeny wee room.
Yeah.
And that's where I would escape to. Like, okay, recharge, let's go back again.
I couldn't recharge in there. It was there's just too much. I just felt like trapped in there. So I was in and out the fastest I could ever be to avoid that area.
We had some funny moments. There was a walking back from having some drinks on the very last night.
God.
It must have been 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And this dude, I want to say Finnish guy, I think he was.
I think he was from Finland, yeah.
Hammered, made zero sense whatsoever, but very, very funny. But he was bewildered that he was like, "What, Sweden? What are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you guys doing here?"
Back, man.
You've broken him.
It's just too good because
we were talking to him for about a good 40 minutes. I say talking to him. It was the same line over and over and
literally,
over again.
I reckon
like
we were there
for
about 25 minutes and he was just like, "Oh, did you guys know?" And we were like,
"Know what,
Did
mate?"
we know what? He was like, No, you have to listen to me. You have to listen to me. Did you know? And I'm like, "Did we know what?" He was like, "You're not listening. Did you know?" And I'm like, "No, we are listening. You're just not saying anything."
Well, did you? Did you know?
I mean, by the end of it, we kind of knew. His mate came and was just like, "What?" He was also like surprised to see his friend.
Yeah.
And then us two talking, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" We're like, "Nothing, bro. We're talking about nothing at all."
And
now.
then he started repeating it to his friend as well. I was like, I was trying to tell the guys, asking them if they knew, and he was like, "If they knew what?"
And then he got involved.
He's just like,
and then we're
so
all
true.
stuck, and someone else coming over like, "Don't, you're gonna regret it. Don't come anywhere near. Stay clear. Stay well."
But I
clear.
felt so bad because even at like 3 a.m, I wanted this person, to feel like that would, they'd had time with us, and eventually it got to the point where it was like, "We're gonna have to go, mate. I'm sorry, but I'll leave you."
Magical weekend. I described it not as like the best RuneFest I've had, but probably one of the best weekends of my life. Like not even work related. It was just so fun. I loved
really
seeing
good.
everyone.
Mm-hmm. It was
and
incredible.
Then spent the next week on my sofa hallucinating. I had no appetite, but I was so sick, so I was just necking meds, and I was just imagining stuff and watching Halo. That's great.
Well, I got sick before RuneFest, so I think my antibodies were at like an all-time high. And then I
Patient
eventually,
zero.
I probably made. I'm really sorry to everyone at RuneFest. I probably did make you sick. Yeah, I finished RuneFest and I was quite okay, albeit very, very tired for a good few days. I find that afterwards it's like all serotonin, dopamine, everything is just it's drained from my body. I am a shell waiting to be recharged. I feel like I was going to make a reference about like freezer in a vat of gel regenerating, ready to be for the next fight. But
Well, you did make that reference.
Yeah, I did
and it's
now.
Very good. It's very
Yeah.
clear analogy. I understand now.
I've been catching up on my DBZ, so I get that reference.
nice, I respect that.
Is that it? Sailing into DBZ.
Oh, well, if sailing is like the One Piece skill, we have to do some like Dragon Ball stuff next, don't we? To be fair, we're doing Dragon Cannonballs. So there might be
Slightly.
something there.
We will have Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna collect the 7 slightly unique dragon cannonballs that are placed around the world, and when you collect them all together, I don't know, like another version of Huey or something is born and grants you
He
a
kind of
wish.
looks like Huey, doesn't he?
Do you know what? I probably shouldn't have said anything because maybe that would be an Easter egg in there now. If not, can
There's
we maybe
still
do it? Yeah,
There's still time.
yeah. If you won't, I'll ask Husky. Maybe Husky will do it for
We
me.
could just tell players right now that we're doing it,
Yeah,
and then they've got
got to go around and find the
As far
magic
as they
balls.
know, there is an Easter egg.
yeah.
And they will never know whether it's there
Yeah.
or not.
That's
Yeah.
not the
They
first
might
time
just
we've
not
said,
have
"Oh,
found
there's
it.
something." We've added it to the game, and then
Yeah.
we forgot to do it.
No, because then what we're going to get is like hundreds of posts
I know,
of
I
like,
know.
"Oh, we've been here crowdsourcing for the last 4 days and nothing's happened. Is it even
Oh, that
real?"
fishing spot.
Like the
Yeah.
fishing spot one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, go out and find the magic balls, and if you do, maybe you'll get a wish.
What project do you want to work on next?
Perfect world, I think I would work on raids, but I wouldn't lead raids.
Okay.
So I would just get to like not do the project management side of things. I would just be a dev getting on with my little code bits.
Yeah.
Like that would be quite nice.
So someone's managing it, and they're like, "Elena, go and make some cool shit." And you're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm gonna go make
Go
some
make
cool
this
shit."
boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
that could be
Nice.
quite cool. Looking back at like projects I've enjoyed the most in the past, I would say like Group Iron Man was enjoyable just because of the like sheer impact of it. Like it's changed the game for so many people. And like going back to RuneFest, I had people come up to me and say like, "My girlfriend and I have been playing this game mode together, and we just wanted to thank you for making it." And I was
Aw,
like,
that's
so
"Oh,
sweet."
That's so cute." I think I enjoyed like the development side of it most on Guardians of the Rift. Like that was a highlight for me. That was sort of spawned in Game Jam.
Mm-hmm.
I think we called it ideation back then, but it's the same thing. And yeah, we had this prototype working. We really wanted the players to go back to the altars and like do traditional rune crafting. And that was really cool to get to work on. So I think I'd love to get more involved in raids, just because I want to like learn more about combat and doing bosses and stuff, which I haven't really done yet. But also just like somewhat smaller scale skilling updates, like mini games and stuff like that would be cool.
What does your ideal boss look like? Do you have anything in mind?
Putting me on the spot here.
It doesn't have to be in terms of mechanics. Like if you were to be put on raids, right? Let's forget about the current theming that's set for raids. It's just your perfect vision of, this is the type of boss that I want to work on. This is what I want to make.
So when it comes to raids, I think there's a very unique case where like you want, as opposed to like a single player boss, you want to kind of lean into the multiplayer aspect of it. I really like it when a boss or like an encounter, I guess, has these sort of roles that players take on. So like, okay, you're the freezer, you're freezing north side maiden, right? Like you're freezing south side, the rest of us, like you're like the machine gun, like that kind of stuff. I really like that.
Okay.
So I would probably want a boss that kind of encourages those kind of roles. So like maybe we lean more into like a more traditional MMO type thing where like you actually have a tank. And like that is the dedicated tank, and they need to bring like heavy defenses, and maybe you have like bonus damage if you attack the boss from like a specific side or something. So you have like a DPS role that's like meant to be in that position. Maybe someone needs to be on different spell books to handle different mechanics. Like I really like that sort of thematic of roles, I guess, in raids.
That sounds really cool. And I also fully agree with you. And I remember Theatre of Blood Design trying to figure out how to make, I remember there was like this part of like Verzik where there was going to be a main tank role where instead of picking the staff up in Zarpas's room and now using that to take down the shield, it was going to be that there was a pillar or a pedestal in the middle of the room that someone had to go to and shove the staff into to create a barrier that you would then go into to prevent damage coming through. Didn't end up working out that way, and actually Verzik is probably infinitely better for it. But I'm just waffling a load of crap to eventually get to the point of, how do you get around the notion though of wanting to do these cool mechanical bosses that might require multiple people for a game that for a lot of people largely see as like a solo kind of experience? What is that like for you? Do you find it difficult having to potentially not do things that you would really like because the overall player base may prefer something else?
The way I think about it is you can create encounters that are soloable, but not solo efficient. So looking at Theatre of Blood, for example, that's a bit of an extreme example, maybe. It is soloable, but it's just really annoying to do, right? I think if you think of all of the bosses, maybe except for Verzik, that's more of a good place to be in terms of like, you can solo it, it's just a bit slower. It's not efficient to do, but you can do it if you want to. I think with raids, like we want to lean into the multiplayer aspect, and therefore it should be better to go with other people. But I don't want to restrict people from playing alone because I know that a lot of people want to do that. So at least for raids, that's probably how I'd approach it. But we do a lot of other bosses as well that like often are targeted at single, like solo players as well.
Yeah.
That's where I'd go. But like, there are so many other bosses. You get so many bosses that are solo friendly or solo favored.
Yeah.
Please give the people who multiplayer some fun.
Yeah.
But then a lot of players vote, I guess, like you mentioned earlier, like selfishly, like, well, I don't care. I don't want them to have fun because I want to have fun.
Which makes sense though. Like I don't put it against anyone, right?
They're paying money and they're putting time in.
Paying for the game, putting the time in and all that.
They want the game to be, and I totally respect that. This is me.
Yeah, no, I know you do. I know. But
I agree with the role stuff as well. But I think what I love about top roles is that they aren't clearly defined. Like you don't have to do that. Whereas I think like some people's criticisms of things like Things of a Massacre, which is you have to do it as the way the devs intended or you die. Whereas Todd was like, hey, there's some bosses, they've got some mechanics. If you wanted to go figure it out.
It's quite fluid, isn't it? Like you can handle Maiden without anyone freezing.
Or everyone freezing.
Yeah, or
you could go that. You go the other route too.
So it's just like a mechanic and you choose how to handle it. I quite like that option of like there being multiple ways to solve things. It makes things harder to design for sure.
Yeah.
But I think the player experience is better for it.
Got a bit of a heater one. What's more important, good game design or player opinion?
Well, I thought you were going to say player experience because player experience is the real thing.
But player opinion can be formed before player experience.
That's true.
Especially in our game where we have to talk about things before they get to try them.
Before they get to try them, yeah.
Not with bosses really, because the extent of that is, hey, we're adding some bosses. They're going to be super fun, should we add them to the game? Yes or no? And they go, yeah, I want super fun bosses. And then that's the extent of mechanic discussion beforehand.
Which is intentional. I think, back in the days, it wasn't as clear cut as that. Now we purposely will go about it that way so that people have that experience for the first time before their opinion. But yeah, just generally speaking, if we were to see a huge thread about, I really hope that the next raid isn't doesn't require you to go in with multiple people. And we're like, well, actually, it's way better game design if it does require multiple people. As a designer, how do you feel about that kind of like the whole clash between just generally, what makes good game design and player opinions?
When it's player opinion without player experience, so like before they've actually tried the content, I would say game design, because trust me, bro. But once they've actually tried it and they've experienced it, if they have opinions at that point, I don't want to cling to something just because it's good game design. Like if it's genuinely not a good experience for you, arguably it's no longer good game design. So
that's fair.
That would be my answer.
You could have the most well-designed game ever with 0 players. So it's not a very good game, dude.
It's not a good game then at that point. No, that's exactly. I like that. So essentially what you're saying is that like past the point of people trying it out, developer or designer ego shouldn't get in the way of what actually makes good content.
Yeah, we don't want to be stubborn, essentially. And we want to be dynamic, listening to feedback. Obviously, we can do that beforehand as well. I'm not saying that all of our designs are perfect. And like, there's a reason we talk to the community. It's not just because we want to hype you up. It's because we want you to like input on the things that we're making and make that design better together.
Well, we make the game for the people at the end of the day, right? And I think that's one of the things that I love the most about the old school team. I kind of felt like, even though I said it was going to be a heater, that's kind of where you would go to, because that's where almost everyone in the team should essentially go to, because we're all here for the same reason.
You just know me too well.
Yeah, I just thought maybe there's a chance that there was something different in there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go to a silly question now.
Okay.
And I love asking this question.
Oh, God.
So if you were to live in any other version of a life, fantasy world, whatever it may be, what would your kind of like ideal life that you would live look like? You could be a superhero, you could be someone living in the woods, you could be an alien, whatever you want. What is your dream fake reality?
Any franchise, any gaming world, any fantasy thing, sci-fi thing you've read.
Whatever your mind draws you to.
I was really disappointed when I was 11 and didn't get my letter to Hogwarts.
Oh.
So I think I'm going to have to go
they
with like
fucked
a
up
magical...
with that. They should have sent you it.
I think the owl got lost on the way to Norway or something.
Don't they have a different wizarding school over there anyway?
I didn't get invited to that one either.
Just weren't good enough.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
But yeah, I think a magical world, definitely.
Okay.
I like a bit of dragons and stuff, But at the same time, like, and if we're going Harry Potter, don't want to be around the Death Eaters and stuff. That seems a bit extreme. So like if I can have the version of that world like after all the Harry Potter stuff's happened, that'd be pretty cool.
So just like a happy, everyone gets along, magical world.
Yeah.
You get to fly around. What are the dragons doing in this world?
Just chilling.
They're just chilling. They're friendly dragons.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it like How to Train Your Dragon style? Like you tame them?
I'd love
they work
like
with
a
you?
crossover of that and like Aragon, basically, like being a dragon rider. That could be pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
Dragon riding. I guess I have to call you a witch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Dragon
That's my
riding
dream.
witch in a happy magical world.
Yeah.
That actually sounds pretty damn
cool.
good, to be honest.
Yeah.
I might transfer over to your realm every now and then.
Yours? Dragon Ball.
No, I was just going to be like this little woodland elf.
Oh.
Yeah, in the
Well,
forest.
You can
yeah.
combine the two.
What about outside of Jagex, outside of old school? Who is Elena? What does Elena do?
So I live in a house with a big cat. He's massive. He's a Maine Coon. He's a big boy. I run D&D sessions.
Really?
Once every 2 weeks.
I didn't know that.
Actually, we're on break now, but we picked up RuneScape Kingdoms. Which is pretty cool. So we're going to start doing that.
Sorry, do you do the sessions remotely?
Yes.
You do?
So when I was in uni, we had a group playing D&D at the time. I wasn't the DM, so like I started trying that this year, which was really cool. I was thinking of doing a pre-made campaign because it's my first time being a DM. But then I was like, well, I'm a game designer. I feel like I should be able to do a little bit of world building, a little bit of like homebrew. So I created my own little world that they're working their way through. So
nice. That's awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's nice.
If anyone drops out, can you let me know? I'd love to join.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks.
You speak Norwegian, right?
No. Oh, you're all in Norwegian. Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right, that's not going to work out.
We have talked about doing like a work one, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll get that set
There's
up.
always talks of it, but then everyone's like, "Are we going to do it in person?" I'm like, I'm not driving an hour and a half to
Yeah.
play D&D as much as I would love to. I
It
can't.
is quite different in person. Like I vibe with that better.
Yeah.
But with that group, I'd rather play remotely than not play at all.
All right. So the D&D sessions, your world building. What's your favorite food?
Tacos.
Tacos. Ooh, do love a good taco.
Hard shell, soft shell.
Bit of both. Yeah, I mixed it up.
Okay.
That's the brilliant thing about it. Like you can change the toppings and everything. There's always like a bit of a different meal.
The fine answer.
Yeah.
Tacos are great.
The craziest thing I've eaten. I know you didn't ask this, but it
That's
just
okay.
sprung
Keep
to
it
mind.
going. Yeah.
I was in uni. It was like 2-3 a.m. and I'd been out, come back home.
Found Nolan all.
Really hungry and like a bit drunk, trying to mess around in the kitchen, trying to find any food. Find that I have this like mix of Sichuan, like a Sichuan kit basically.
Okay.
So you have like rice, you have the spices. All you need is the meat. I didn't have any meat in the fridge, but I did have moose meat in the freezer.
Moose
So
meat.
it's 3 a.m.
This is just like,
I'm
is it
thawing
a
moose
Norwegian
meat.
thing? You just have moose meat?
Yeah.
Is it common over there?
Not super common, no.
Okay.
But my family hunt. So
Oh, okay.
they sent me
Nice.
some. They were like, "Oh, my kid's going off to uni. I have to send her
It's
some moose meat."
meat.
So it's like 3 a.m. and I'm making moose Sichuan, and I swear it was the best food ever. But I don't know if that was because I was drunk at 3 a.m. or if it was just really good. I couldn't tell you.
You haven't recreated it since?
No, it's a masterpiece that, like when you repeat something, it's never as
Yeah,
good. I feel like I
okay.
can never achieve that level of cooking mastery again.
If I ever come round for dinner, though, can we have moose meat
Yeah.
Szechuan?
I also do moose tacos.
Moose tacos.
nice.
Okay. Do you miss living in Norway?
I do. I get homesick every time I'm there.
Oh.
So it's weird because I don't feel homesick when I'm here. Then I go back and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. Why did I leave this place? Then I come back here and it's like, oh, this is really nice. I love my job. So yeah, there's
Okay,
two
so you're
sides
kind of
to
like
it.
torn. What's
Yeah.
the first thing that you do when you go back home?
I was gonna joke and say eat moose tacos, but that's not really true. Hug my mom, probably.
Oh, that's sweet.
Say hi to my brothers who they're teenagers, so they're just kind of like hi.
Yeah.
And then
That's
go
it.
away.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you for a year. Okay, hi. And then leave.
You just leave and go, what, play video games?
Yeah, Fortnite.
Fortnite,
Yeah.
okay.
Not old school.
No, I've tried. I've tried getting them into it, but yeah, it doesn't stick.
We are releasing this podcast just before Sony comes out.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to players doing? What are you hoping they will do on release?
I hope they don't break the game. That would be very sad.
I've been asked by my boss to
Yeah.
break the servers.
I was
Okay.
literally just about to say that it's very contradictory to what we've been told
Yeah.
needs to happen. The marketing's goal is to break the game. Community's goal is please do not break the game because that makes my life hell. Also makes the developers hell.
So you need to break the game in terms of like get more people in so that the servers are at capacity. and-
Exactly.
yeah.
And then
And then I have to deal with the fact that the servers are at capacity and nothing works.
Yeah. And I have to share a feedback report on how players are really angry and upset that the servers broke while marketing are rejoicing in their
They're like, yes,
no,
we
I
did
wouldn't because I'm playing it.
we did it.
I've been locked
Sween in
out.
his little corner.
I've been locked out of launch
mischief.
every single time.
I got what I wanted.
Okay, in an ideal world, then we almost break the servers, but we don't quite. But we still do really bloody well getting players in, and
Yeah.
they get into the game, and then you hope they don't break it.
So I would love to see people come back to the game to try this out because I feel like you never leave RuneScape. You just take long breaks, right? There are so many people who are probably at a break right now who are going to come back for this because it changes the game completely, right? And they're probably curious what it's going to be like. So I want to see those people come back. I want to see what their take is on it. And I want to see probably some people from RuneScape as well come over and try it because
Yep.
they're kind of used to having new skills now. So like, what's their take on what a new skill in old school feels like?
And they've got a great frame of reference to what to expect and
Exactly.
what they want to see from a skill. Okay.
Yeah. And in terms of like the players who like who stick to the game and are here right now, I just want to see like, do you like it? It's that simple. How does it feel? Are you enjoying it? What could we do differently? Because we're planning to keep updating sailing, just like any other skill, but maybe like with a particular focus now because it's so new. We are going to keep giving it updates, but right now we're just guessing, right? Like we're guessing that the community is going to want more depth in this training method, or at this stage next year, they're going to want a new quest on an island or something, or something that takes them to a new place. But realistically, the best way to shape where we go next is by seeing what players like and what they don't like. And that way we can prioritize what we do next.
On the topic of sailing, what is the craziest bug that you've encountered during development?
There's been a few. I very vividly remember this one quite early on when we were still sort of working out how the boats are going to move and stuff. We found that so it's going to get a little bit technical, but the boats are all instanced.
Let me focus.
Yeah,
I'm
focus
ready.
it. Lock in. The boats are instant. That means that you're just allocated some space off the main world where you are. But you're projected to make it look like you're in the real world. But in reality, you're off and like way, way far away. What we found early on is that if I click to move onto your boat, so like I'm on a boat, you're on a separate boat. If I click on your boat, my boat's going to try to path to your instance. So it's just going to yeet itself like off the world, basically. It's going to like try to like go across the world. And this was back before we even had blocking. So like boats would go over land. So I would just sail across the Caribbean desert, like off into the void, into the black, like after the seas ended, like just way off into the void. And we just left it there for like 10 minutes. And eventually it found its way to the instance where your boat is actually at.
Because, thinking about it, it's like you're on a projected version of your boat that's somewhere else entirely in the world in a separate instance. So is the boat that you're on. So, the technicalities of it, like trying to find that instanced version of the boat whilst it's in its own instance. Are all boats in the same instance?
No.
Are they in their own independent instances?
Yeah. So it's kind of like going into, I don't know, like going to fight Muspa. You're in your own instance. There might be like hundreds of people in their own Muspa instances on that world.
So an instance boat trying to find another instance boat, and it did eventually find that boat.
Yeah, it gets there eventually. It's just really far away. So that's another thing as well. With every instance, you could just like go from one to the other technically. It's just usually we don't let you. But a JMod could like just run through them all.
So it's kind of like all built within parallel universes is within the game.
Yeah, imagine it like the multiverse.
All right, I have one last question.
Yep.
Do you have any particular old school RuneScape related secret that you want to no longer be a secret?
Oh, I guess this is a really silly one. But so like in the back end, when you look at like accounts and stuff, you can see whether they've ever like broken a rule, whether like they've been reported for different stuff. When I joined the company, I looked at my account and I was like, what are my offenses? Like, have I ever been banned or anything? Like, have I done bad stuff? And I have one mute from, I think it's 2009, where I told someone to look up badger on YouTube. And that is website advertising, which is strictly against the rules.
Oh, no.
You can't be doing that.
That's actually really lame. Yeah. mushroom, snake. That's
by 2009, also wasn't that ancient as well? By even like 2009 standards too.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think I remember seeing that in like year 5 of middle school.
That literally was like at my high school kind of like era. Weeble and Bob, the whole Charlie the Unicorn, and
It's so much worse. You'd be telling people to look up.
Literally.
When I first joined a clan at 11 years old, they were like, "Oh, you're like 11? Brilliant." They were like teenagers and like,
don't say it.
Basically, it's the type of stuff you'd expect to see on 4chan.
Okay.
And they found it hilarious, and it was hilarious.
Okay.
For them.
All right. For once, I'm being a sensible one now and censoring Sween. Normally, I'd be like, no, mate, go wild, but not in this instance. Holy.
It's normally the other way around. He has to censor you.
I don't think Sween ever really tries to censor me. He just gives me a look of disappointment, and then I know I've done bad, and I'm like,
censor yourself.
I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Sometimes I'll say something and I'll look over just to see, is Dad happy or sad right now, and then I'll know whether or not I'm gonna have to grovel later on.
Yeah.
But yeah. Last question. Really, last question. Do you have any questions for me or Sween?
What's it like having to put up with lots of different devs all the time? Because I know we can be a bit annoying.
That's a good question. I personally love it. I thrive in the figuring out managing indifferences. Okay. So it keeps me on my toes. I like that not everything is the same. My team probably will feel a little bit different. And to be honest with you, when I first, because like I do obviously a lot less of the groundwork now. When I first joined Jagex, it was frustrating, but still a good challenge for me. So I like to overcome challenges basically. But there were definitely times where I was like, just don't be that way. To answer it in a different way, I think that the biggest difficulty in that challenge is when sometimes ego can get in the way of player feedback.
Yeah.
And ego is actually, I think it's quite a detrimental term. I don't like using it, so I probably shouldn't use it in these instances. But there are times when, you know, like the idea of a design and being so attached to it can sometimes cloud, I think, someone's vision around, well, actually, is it working or not the way that we'd hoped it to? And that's easy for me to say as someone who hasn't got all of that love and passion put into the hours and hours of time spent working on it. So I completely relate and I try my best to work through that. But there are some times where maybe I'm a little bit more brutal than I probably should be, in the sense of, you know, killing off someone's child and being like, it's just not the way it needs to be or should be. We're going to have to change it. But otherwise, no, I actually really like it. I love working with everyone in the team. Genuinely, there's no real difficulty there. It's just a fun challenge.
What about you, Sweet?
I'll echo Aiz's answer largely. Now I'm obviously not in community anymore, but I was for a number of years. In marketing, now I ask devs, like, hey, can you help out with this creator? Can you give them access to a game world? And everyone's like, yeah, cool, I'd love to do that. So that's easy. Now it's fantastic because I think we've got so many years under a belt of like a really good development process involving community. In 2017, when both Aiza and I did join the team, it wasn't the same. So at times it would be really quite frustrating. But by and large, I love it. Yeah, we work with such a good team.
Well, I think it's probably about time that we wrap up. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully,
thank you for having me.
Well, it's been, as I said, it's been our pleasure. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Hopefully, everyone that is listening has enjoyed it too.
And to the players, I guess, like, give us feedback on sailing by the time this comes out. Sailing is right around the corner or has just released potentially. I don't know the schedule, but yeah, give us feedback. Like I said, we want to hear from you about what's working, what's not working, so that we can shape next year's roadmap around that and really like address the biggest issues or the biggest feedback points as soon as possible.
Sweet. Well said.
All right. Well, until next time, it is all from us for now. Bye.
Bye.
We need a better ending.